Alright, I just want to test how this looks. Testing, 1, 2, 3. Oh, I have to record my screen. Totally forgot about that. What is up, you guys? It is definitely a very, very Merry Christmas evening this evening. We are going to be ranking all of my 2023 reads. And I'm super excited for this because, as you can see on my screen, I have my tier ranking list with all my like little options or whatever. Before I even get started, I just want to say that I had a pretty good reading year. I read a lot of books that were on my to read list, and I also just really enjoyed some new books that were unexpected, some books that I really didn't think that I wanted to read, and then once I read them, I was so happy that I did. So I kind of want to see what I end up rating it based on like what I remember about the book and stuff like that. So on my tiers list, I have would reread and recommend endlessly. This tier is for books that I have already read, books that I would definitely reread again and again and again, like more than 2 times. This is a book that I would recommend no matter who is asking me if they should read the book or not. Or if they're asking me like, what book should I read? I don't know what to read. This is the tier where I'll put the books that I would recommend. The next tier says in my top 5 for sure. So this tier is definitely a book that has left an imprint on me. This is a book where I love the characters, the storyline, the plot. This is a book that I will remember forever. This is a book that this is a book depending on how many books land here, but for this tier I do believe that my top 5 books have to be like iconic books that I would have never imagined that they were in this tier, and that's why that row is there. The next tier that I have is loved and deserved 5 stars. So these are books that I just really enjoyed reading, that I really loved, and that there was something likable about the book, whether it was a plot line, whether it was a character, whether it was something that happened in the book that was just memorable. And because of it, I gave it 5 stars because it was deserving of the 5 stars. The next tier says good, but not my all-time favorite. Right. So in this tier, I do believe that these are books that received a 4.5 and below. I think in this tier, these are books that were good. These are books that I thoroughly enjoyed. However, they didn't give me that 5-star feeling. I think this is going to be where majority of my books are going to end up, but we shall see. We shall let time decide. The next tier says forgot what the book was about, TBH. So this tier cracks me up because I definitely have read enough books for me to forget about the things that I read. And so I think in this tier I'll also have like a big chunk of books, but I do know that the books that are probably going to end up here are books that I either read earlier this year or books that maybe were not as memorable. Maybe I just read them to kind of have like a buffer in between reads or something to that extent. Nothing too crazy. And the last tier says wouldn't recommend. 100% this tier is books that I would never go near again. These are books that I would not recommend to anyone, and these are definitely books that you will not see me talking about or reading for years to come. And I'm so sorry for the books that end up in this tier. However, I do feel strongly about this because obviously I can't justify reading another book like that. I just can't. So now that we went through all our tiers, we're going to go ahead and start ranking it. And this is where the fun actually begins, because now I actually have to think about the books that I read and all of that and decide. So yeah, let's just get right into it, you guys. This is my book list, by the way. And I just wanted to mention that there's books in this pile. So like from this book here up to here. So from Eleanor and Park to Nolte? I don't know what that book says or what that book's called. But from Eleanor and Park to Volte, these books were just like there. I don't know how to remove them, so I'm so sorry. But from Agatha Christie's And Then There Were None until Lisa Jewell's Watching You, those are the books that I read in 2023. And we're going to go ahead and tier rank these just in the order that they're in. I don't really care to organize them right now, but we are starting with none other than Agatha Christie's And Then There Were None. I thoroughly enjoyed this book. I think this book is super entertaining, and I'm sure for like the time that the book was like published, it was like insane. Don't get me wrong, I love Agatha Christie. I stand by her 100%. She's great. She's the queen of mystery. But I think I love this book, and I gave it a 5 stars because it deserved a 5 stars. I don't think that it's a book that, you know, I will probably reread anytime in the near future or like recommend to anyone unless they specifically want an Agatha Christie book, like a very niche book from this author. So I think she's sitting pretty at loved and deserved 5 stars. The next book on my tier list is The Art of War. I think I'm going to put this book as good, but not my all-time favorite. I certainly loved the book. I enjoyed it. I think it has great principles for life. However, I automatically gave it a 5 stars just because it is a non-fiction book. It is like a, you know, traditional translated book that many people read. So I think I'm just gonna leave it at good, but that is not my all-time favorite. I think it deserves that spot. The next book on my list is Better Than the Movies by Lynn Painter, and I think I'm going to put it at the loved and deserved 5 stars tier just because this book had all the tropes that I liked, very enjoyable characters, very enjoyable storyline, and I just think that it's deserving of the 5-star rank. Even though I enjoyed it so much, I don't think that I would be rereading the book unless by, you know, like some random itch that I want to scratch where I'm like, oh, maybe I should reread Better Than the Movies. I don't think that will happen. So I think loved and deserved 5 stars is a good place to be. The next book on my list is Divine Rivals, and I'm a little torn because I would put it at would reread and recommend endlessly, but it's also in my top 5 for sure. I'm gonna put it as in my top 5. My reasoning is that since it's in my top 5, when someone asks me like what are your favorite books, it's in my top 5, so I can just tell them Divine Rivals by Rebecca Ross, and then they'll be like, oh, okay, and then that's me recommending it. You know what I mean? Like, another side note, I would definitely reread Divine Rivals. I absolutely loved Divine Rivals, and I cannot wait for Ruthless Vows to come out. Like, I'm literally just sitting here waiting for it to come out. So I think in my top 5 is a good place for Divine Rivals. The next book on my list is Never Lie. I kind of forgot what this book was about. Psychologist lady who like turned out to be like someone's killer or something like that. I don't know. I can't remember. But it definitely deserves to go and forgot what the book was about because I definitely forgot what it was about. It was probably a buffer read for me. I think I read Never Lie in like 2 days, and I read it on my Kindle. So I think that's perfect for Never Lie, for sure. Agatha Christie's The Murder of Roger Ackroyd. I absolutely loved this book. So I think it's going to go right next with Miss Christie. I'm going to give it loved and deserved 5 stars. I think this is the perfect tier for Miss Christie. She is an icon. I'm sure that she was way ahead of her time as she was writing these books, because even now in modern days, people still read her books and rave about her books and just like love them. So yeah, loved and well-deserved 5 stars. This book on my list is Malibu Rising, and I think I'm gonna go with good, but not my all-time favorite. I really enjoyed the storyline of Malibu Rising. The characters were a little out of place for me. I couldn't really connect with any of them, but I did feel for them. So I think this is gonna go in good, but not my all-time favorite. My book on my list is Love in the Time of Serial Killers. So this book I thoroughly enjoyed. It was a lot of fun. It's about like a girl who is working on like her thesis. Like, she loves true crime, and her thesis is about like true crime. And she goes back to Florida because her dad died, and she like has to go clean up his house and stuff like that. But there's like a super cute guy next door, and she just like assumes that he's a serial killer, but in reality he's like the sweetest guy ever. And so I definitely enjoyed this book. I think I gave it like a 4 or like a 4.5 stars. So it's good, but it's not my all-time favorite book for sure. Happy Place. And if you guys don't know where this book is gonna end up, let me tell you right now, right at the tippity top, would reread and recommend endlessly. There's nowhere else that Happy Place belongs but right there. Would reread and recommend endlessly. There's nothing else to it. There's really nothing else to it. The next book that I read was One of Us is Lying. I enjoyed it, so I think I'm gonna put good, but not my all-time favorite. It is a series. I think it's a trilogy, if I'm not mistaken. The next book is Once Upon a Broken Heart. I think I'm gonna put it under... Ooh, this is tough. I think I'm gonna put it under good, but not my all-time favorite. I'm really hoping that The Ballad of Never After and A Curse for True Love pull through, because I enjoyed the fairy tale aspect of Once Upon a Broken Heart. I really enjoyed Jax. I enjoyed Evangeline as a character, like with her pink hair, and I just love the descriptions of like this world that they're in. So the book was really good, but I think I just expected more from the characters and the storyline and like where it was leading. So I'm hoping that The Ballad of Never After gives us that tea that we're looking for, and obviously Curse for True Love, since it is like the trilogy. Next book on my list is the one and only Out on a Limb. I absolutely adored this book. I think this book would be hard for me to recommend, and I don't think that I would reread this book. However, I did love this book, and I do think that it deserves a full-fledged 5 stars. There was something so beautiful and endearing about this book, and the relationship between the two main characters was so wholesome that I don't think I could give it any less than a 5 stars. The Paris Apartment. And sadly, I'm gonna have to put The Paris Apartment under wouldn't recommend. I definitely would not recommend The Paris Apartment, because although the storyline was like more or less good, I kind of just like checked out halfway through reading this book. For some reason, I couldn't keep reading it, and it just like wasn't doing it for me for some reason. Unfortunately, that's where it's gonna have to end up. The Pumpkin Spice Cafe. So this book, honestly, like, I think it's a cute fall read. I'm torn between putting it under good but not my all-time favorite, but also wouldn't recommend, because I don't think I would recommend this book. I think if you come across this book and you're interested in reading it, maybe you can like buy it and like form your own opinion. But me personally, I wouldn't recommend it. I wouldn't reread it. I didn't think that it was all that good. It was fun and it was a quick read, but I don't know. I don't think I would recommend it. The next book on my list is Powerless. Powerless. Did y'all hear that? Powerless by Lauren Roberts. Gosh, where can I put this book? This book has been like the end of me, 100%, because I'm torn. It's definitely gonna go in one of these tiers. I just don't know where to put it, because I really did love it, but I did think that I rated it a 4.5, so maybe I would put it here. Would reread and recommend endlessly, because even though I gave it a 4.5, hear me out, the book is super entertaining. There's no spice, there's so much tension, banter, it's just so good. Action, fantasy, magic, powers, like everything that you can think of is in this book, and I just ate it up. It was great. The next book is Karen Slaughter's Pretty Girls. This book, 100%, putting it at forgot what the book was about, TBH. I certainly did forget what this book was about. I talked about it with a friend of mine, and we were kind of just going back and forth about what was going on and the storylines and what was happening. I don't think I would recommend this book either. Then we have The Song of Achilles. And I know that a lot of people are going to be upset about this one. But you guys, I'm so sorry to be doing this, but I would not recommend this book. With everything that is within me, I just cannot recommend this book. I literally had to skim read through this book for like the last 100 pages of it. I was reading only dialogue at some point, and I still didn't know what was going on. I know that this book won like awards, and everybody was like raving about it and talking about the love story. And don't get me wrong, I'm sure it's a beautiful love story. Do I remember what happened? No. I have absolutely no idea what happened in this book. And then on top of that, the writing was making me fall asleep. It was not keeping me entertained. It was not keeping me awake. It just wasn't doing it for me, you guys. And that is why I would not recommend this book. The next book on my list is The Family Upstairs by Lisa Jewell. I think this book is going to end up on my good but not my all-time favorite tier, just because this book was good. I liked it. I enjoyed it. I think I gave it a 4 stars, if I'm not mistaken. But I don't think I would recommend it. I don't think that I would reread it. And it's definitely not in my top 5. So I think this is a good place for that book. Fine Print. This book was so entertaining. I definitely loved this book, so I think it's gonna go up here with my other 2 besties, and it's gonna be under would recommend and reread and recommend endlessly. I thoroughly enjoyed the fine print. It does have spice, and it also has like grumpy sunshine trope. It's just so fun to read, honestly, and I felt all the things while reading this book. So I definitely would recommend, and I definitely would reread this book. I still have yet to read actually the other 2 books in the Dreamland Billionaire series, so I definitely want to probably get to that. The next book on my list is The Housemaid by Frida McFadden. This book I think was a full-fledged 5 stars for me, so I think I'm going to put it under loved and deserved 5 stars. I also would recommend this book for those of you who have not read The Housemaid. Please get your hands on this book. Please figure out a way to read this book. It is so good. It is so good. It will not disappoint, I promise. The next book is The People We Meet on Vacation by Emily Henry, and shocker, I put it under good, but not my all-time favorite. Sadly, The People We Meet on Vacation is not my favorite Emily Henry book. I still have yet to read Book Lovers, which is on my TBR for next year, absolutely. However, The People We Meet on Vacation, it just didn't do it for me. The storyline was like bland. The characters, I enjoyed them, but they weren't like Gus in January. You know what I mean? I think that's a good place. I think I gave it like a 4 stars probably, which is not bad. It's not a bad rating. I didn't really enjoy it as much as I thought I was going to enjoy it. The next book on my list is Think Like a Monk. This book, first of all, shout out to Jay Shetty because he is such a great human. I love his content. I love his work. I love everything about him, and so I think this book is probably in my would reread and recommend endlessly tier. Also, just like a little update, my camera ran out of battery, so we are going to be doing the rest of this video without my face in it, but you'll still get to hear me, which is great. It's fun. We love it. The next book is The Silent Patient. So The Silent Patient, if you guys have not heard me talk about The Silent Patient, if you guys have not watched my Reading Thrillers for a Week video, guys, go watch it. Go watch it right now. The reason why I tell you this is because this book absolutely loved the plot twist in this book. So seamless, so good, literally full body chills, as my favorites from Crime Junkie say. I definitely love this book and deserved 5 stars. I could not tell you how unexpected the plot twist was for me. And that's pretty much it. If you have not read The Silent Patient, also go and read The Silent Patient. What are you doing? Following that is The 7 Husbands of Evelyn Hugo. This book caused a riot, okay? And honestly, as the book should, okay, I absolutely love The 7 Husbands of Evelyn Hugo. And that is why this book is in my loved and deserved 5 stars. Because I loved and it deserves 5 stars. Then we have The Psychology of Money. Guys, you guys should already know where this is going to go. This is going to go right up here next to Mr. Shetty. Would reread and recommend endlessly. The Psychology of Money was such a great book. It gave so much insight into finance, into how we think about money. It gave context of like history or like historical people who went bankrupt or, you know, just like did amazing things with their money. It gave real life examples and everything few and far in between. And if you guys are interested in learning about the psychology of money, or if you guys are interested in getting better at managing your finances, I definitely would recommend The Psychology of Money. The next book is The Housemaid's Secret. Unlike my previous rating of The Housemaid, The Housemaid's Secret, unfortunately, is going to go under wouldn't recommend. I also forgot what the book was about, but I know that it follows the main housemaid from this book, and like she goes and becomes a housemaid for like another rich dude somewhere else. But the reason why I wouldn't recommend it is because I think at some point in the book I was just over it. Like I just wanted to get over this book, and I felt like the storyline or like the attention wasn't the same as in the first book. I think that Frida was trying hard to kind of get that twist going, and frankly I don't even remember the plot twist of the book. So that is why it is going in my wouldn't recommend tier. The Summer I Turned Pretty. And you guys, don't be surprised by this. You guys should already know that I am rating this book a 1 star, 1.5, 0 stars if I could, but 1. It's literally a 0.5 star at this point. I mean, why? Like, I'm glad that I read them because now I understand the context of like the TV show, because I also watched the TV show, but why? So the next book is Behind the Net. I don't know where to put it. Behind the Net by Stephanie Archer. I think I'm going to end up putting this book under wouldn't recommend. This book has so much spice. I think every other paragraph was spice. And you guys, at one point, I was like annoyed. I was like already about to skip over these parts just because of like how much spice was going on. And don't get me wrong, like I'm sure some people love it, but me personally, I just didn't. It wasn't. I don't know. I just wasn't. It wasn't. It wasn't. That's all I can say. I don't know. It just felt like it was a bit much. However, I did enjoy the ending. I do remember the ending. And I just loved how everything like tied together for these two characters. This is also a grumpy sunshine trope, and it is the cutest thing. They were so cute together. I liked it. I didn't love it. It's not my favorite, but I definitely would not recommend. Unless you like really enjoy hockey romances and like are a full-on spice girly, I would not recommend this book. Absolutely not. Then we have It's Not Summer Without You. And this book is going right next to The Summer I Turned Pretty. These two books are the reason why I don't want to read the third book in the Summer I Turned Pretty series. Because I think I rated this one a 3 stars. This one was definitely like a 1 star. And the ratings, you guys, like the reviews that people leave on Goodreads cracked me up. like, I cannot begin to tell you how hard I laughed with these reviews. It was just a blast. I was having a blast. Absolutely. Then we have One by One by Frida McFadden. This book, I don't think I would recommend it, but I did enjoy the book. So I'm going to have to put it under good, but not my all-time favorite. The reason why I'm putting it under good and not under wouldn't recommend is because surprisingly, I would recommend this book. It looks like one of those books that you just kind of overlook. However, the plot twist was really good. I really liked how it had like the anonymous narrator for like every other chapter or something, because it makes you want to try to figure out like who is the person that is like killing off these people one by one. So you guys, this whole book has like an unexpected twist in it, and I think that it was well done. I think that it was a great read. I was thoroughly surprised, and I think it's just like a refreshing take on like a typical murder mystery thriller kind of book. Then we have Twilight. Twilight, I think, is gonna go under good, but not my all-time favorite. I do think that for the time that Twilight came out, it was a phenomenon. Like, it was a success just because of the target audience. It is a young adult book, and I think it goes from young adult to new adult, if I'm not mistaken. However, you guys, I thoroughly enjoyed this book. Like, despite not being like the target audience for Twilight, especially like so many years removed from when the book actually came out, the movies actually came out, and all of this, I felt like I was back in high school reading this book, or like back in middle school reading this book. It just, like, for some reason, it just did it for me. It was something that I had to get out of my system. And I know that I mentioned this in my November TBR, and if you haven't watched my November TBR, you guys, come on, go watch it. Like, what are you doing? Watch it after this video. In my November TBR, I explain how I have not seen these movies. I have not read any of the books. I'm lying. I did watch the first Twilight. And obviously, we all know what team I'm a part of, right? Team Jacob. There's no other team. It's Team Jacob. Then we have Unqualified by Stephen Furtick. This book, I do remember giving it a 5 stars. This is actually a Christian author. So I think for Unqualified, I'm going to put it under Loved and Deserved 5 stars. The entire storyline is about this one character who had a brother in the Bible, and I can't remember his name right now. I think it was like Cain and Abel. I don't know, but it was these two brothers. And there was one who was like the firstborn brother, and then like the other brother was born, but the firstborn brother wanted to be like the heir. He wanted to be like the person who like got all the prophecy and like the family heirlooms and all of that. And so he basically made it his life's mission to be like selfish and cowardly and just like have other people do like his dirty work for him, until he came face to face with Jesus, with God himself, and he basically had like a revelation. And then it was like this whole thing, this whole transformation where he went and he like repented, and he went back to the places where he kind of like hurt all these people and basically like apologized for his behavior and stuff like that. So I definitely do think that this book well deserved the 5 stars, because even in the title, like in the entire book, the author is reminding you, like, even though we think we're unqualified, God has already qualified us for the life that he's given us, right? So like, we already have the things that we need in order to be accepted by God. It's just on us to actually listen to what God is telling us and trust in his timing and what he's guiding us to, and being obedient to that. I do think that I love this book, deserved the 5 stars, and actually like I would reread this book and recommend it as well. And finally, we have Lisa Jewell's Watching You. I think that for this book, I wouldn't necessarily recommend it. However, it was a good book, so I'm going to put it in good, but not my all-time favorite. And I think that that's the perfect place for it, because I think I did rate it like a 4 stars. But I do remember the ending, and it was so good, and I wanted to keep reading because I was like, how are you gonna end the book like this? It definitely leaves the ending up for interpretation, and I think Lisa Jewell did an amazing job writing this book, just because it was so like nerve-wracking, and every single page that you read was like, okay, what's next? What happens next? Like, how does this all tie together? And when I tell you guys that I was shocked by the ending, guys, I had full body chills, literally full body chills. This brings me to the conclusion of my tier rankings. We have the 33 books that I read in 2023, and they're all tier ranked, all nice and cute. So if you guys enjoyed this video, please remember to like, comment, and subscribe. This is day 7 of Vlogmas, you guys, and I've been having so much fun recording these videos. And I think it's just been like such a fun time. It's been such a challenge and so exciting to just be a part of this and do all of this for you guys so that you guys can watch it. But tier ranking these books was actually a lot of fun. I hope that you guys are not too upset with my opinions, but at the end of the day, they are books, they are entertainment, and clearly you can tell which books entertain me more than others. But at the end of the day, as long as you're having fun reading the books, and as long as you're reading what you want to read, and as long as you're making the most out of life, then you're doing great. You're doing amazing, sweetie. You're doing great things in life. You are exactly where you're supposed to be. And if you're watching this video, then it's a sign that you should keep watching my videos. So go ahead and hit that subscribe button, and I'll see you tomorrow for Vlogmas Day 8. It's gonna be a good one. Bye, you guys.